Hi there, this is Jen. Today is August 24th, 2024. My name is Jen Leo. I'm a painter, designer, a teacher. This is a little bit about my approach and background as a professional visual artist that I've been practicing for nearly 20 years. I was born in Canada. I grew up in a suburb just outside of Toronto, Ontario. I was definitely artistic as a child. I was a very quiet kid, but had a really big imagination. I was probably most happiest being on my own, coloring, drawing. I was very creative. I grew up in a fairly middle class upbringing. While I was never discouraged from making my art, I also didn't really have concrete examples of what it meant to be a professional artist. I didn't think that was something I would do. I just knew that this is something that I loved, and so I was always drawn to that. My interest in making art only got stronger as I grew up. And so when it came time for me to look at going to university, there was really nothing else I even considered. And so I went to the Ontario College of Art and Design in Toronto. While my major was in drawing and painting, I really took advantage of all of the different courses that I could. I did jewelry making and bronze casting and photography and sculpture. I really embraced all of the different creative practices that they had to offer there. Looking back on it, I had a real drive to experiment. By trying as many different things as I could, it helped to develop a skill set for me that I can now move between different mediums and materials and styles very freely. I think when you have that instinct of being an artist, you are naturally curious. And so when I have ideas, I feel I can explore them with greater flexibility. The most impactful point for me, though, was probably in my last year of university. I had the opportunity to take part in an independent study year based in Florence, Italy. This was really the time that I was able to dive right into my practice as an artist and make decisions of what directions I wanted my work to take as a painter. And the work that I created at this time really set the foundation for what my identity would become as an artist. And I'm still very much working in the same themes and styles that I discovered in that time. As a painter, my work is predominantly abstract. I guess you can say abstract expressionist, although I don't really like that term. Um, I use very bold colors, very large gestures. I work very intuitively. I like how a painter can turn a two-dimensional surface and create an excitement in the mind when we're looking at it. It's a full sensory experience. And through the characteristics of my painting and through its boldness and its vibrancy, I hope that I can. The year I spent in Florence became very influential for me. I became very connected to the life I created in Italy, and I felt an openness that I never felt before. Even though I was only there for a year, it left me with a really strong desire to try and go back any opportunity I could. And so I continued my life and developing my career in Canada, but ultimately always had this strong desire to find my way back to Italy. It actually wasn't until many years later I was able to make that decision for myself. And I've now been living full time in Florence since 2018. After all these years, there are certain characteristics that have come to identify me as a painter. I have a very strong use of color. I paint very expressively. I lean into bold brush strokes. And all of this is still relevant in my work. But what I'm trying to focus on now is how I can hold on to these roots that are still very relevant in my work. But I think there's still a lot untapped in my work as a painter. and I want to continue on this path of discovery. What's the biggest challenge of being an artist? I think for me, it's that blurred line between artist as professional and artist as a way of life. When you follow this path as a career, you can't ignore the aspects of it as a business. There's so many influences that come into play that completely contradict the approach of making art. And finding that balance is an ongoing battle. And so it becomes so important for me to constantly realign myself between my intent as an artist and my goals in a profession. Advice I would give my younger self, I'd probably say embrace the time and place that you are now in your life. Don't stress so much about how the future is going to unfold. Those problems are going to come along anyways. And it's all going to unfold in a way that is impossible to predict. I have tried a lot of different materials, unconventional techniques and mediums. As an artist, you want to explore what kind of effects you can get with all kinds of different materials, even something less traditional. As a painter, I've played around with different kind of surfaces, different mediums, but at the end of the day, I often come full circle and lean into my paints on canvas with my brushes. That just feels like home to me. I definitely like to listen to music while I'm painting. It might change based on my mood, what I'm working on. For example, sometimes if I really want to focus, I might have some music that's a bit softer, maybe something instrumental that can keep me focused. Whereas if I'm working on some larger paintings, something more expressive, I might opt for music that's a bit more upbeat, where I can kind of fall into the groove and really connect myself with the creative process. I really like to be present when my work is being shown. I like the interaction with the customers to be able to see their reactions. Some of the best reactions I've gotten have been when I can see how a work of art affects someone and you can watch them kind of get lost in what they're looking at. I've done a number of shows with my art on display where the public is moving around, and there have been moments where someone walking by will simply stop in their tracks. They got a glance of maybe a large painting that I had on display, and they'll come in and they'll stop and they'll look at it and they'll spend time just sort of getting lost in the painting that they're looking at. And I really like to be a witness to that experience. Those are the moments where I can feel confident and see that all of the energy and intent I put into creating has a profound effect on people, and how art can have a profound effect on people. And they're completely honest moments. Those are probably the most fulfilling times I can see how someone reacts. I think ultimately this is what I hope people take away from my work. One of my mottos in creating actually is art to captivate the soul. When it comes down to it, that's what I want from my viewer. I can make art for myself and feel totally fulfilled in that process. But the act of sharing it, I then pass the torch to my audience. And all the emotions I have in creating work can move on to my viewers so they can share in that experience.